All right. Good evening. Welcome to the Crawford Long Middle School Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed and publicly displayed or noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in a discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I'm pleased to call this meeting of the Crawford Long Middle School Go Team to order at the time of 5:37 p.m. Our first order of business is a roll call. The secretary will now take roll.
A president with so your name, Natasha Hall. Natasha Hall. Yes, she's here. You have to say President View. James Murphy.
Present.
Andrew Castillo.
Present.
Right. Okay. Do you have any parents here? Okay, do you have a visit? Nicole, right? Nicole, can you answer present?
It's a little muffled. It seems like there's a connection. I can barely hear you, Miss Kruger.
Okay.
She's on here.
Okay.
Dr. White, I think you said her name. She's here. Miss Cologne.
Oh, she did. Okay, yeah, but present. Dr. White is present.
Hey, is this better?
Ms. Hall is present.
Thank you. Okay, all parties are present, Mr. Murphy.
Great. The team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Madam Secretary, is there a quorum present?
Yes, there's a quorum present.
Great. All right. So at this time, we'll have the approval of our agenda. Will the agenda please be displayed? Our first order of business to approve the agenda that was provided to you, and copies are here. Are there any changes to the agenda? Can someone post the agenda? Ms. Kruger, Secretary, do you have the agenda? Okay, just share your screen, please.
Miss Kruger, are you able to share?
No, it's not in the share.
Yeah, it's disabled because I can't share either. So you have to enable it.
Okay, you should be able to share now, Miss Kruger.
Um,
Ms. Cooper, if you're unable to share, I'll share my screen with the agenda on it.
Share your screen. Yes.
So please review the agenda at this time. If there are any changes that need to be made to agenda, we'll make a motion for that. To amend the agenda.
We're seeing the,
We open, you saw another screen. Are y'all able to see the agenda?
yes,
Okay,
Yes.
I'm scrolling down, so y'all can see all portions of it.
All right, at this time, are there any changes that need to be made to the agenda? Okay, at this time, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as read?
Yes, this is Dr. White. I make a motion that we approve the agenda as read.
A second? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 aye,
The secretary can record your vote. All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. Great. At this time, the agenda has been approved. Now we'll have the approval of the previous minutes. Will the previous minutes be displayed as well, please? Ms. Kruger, do you have those? Okay, great.
And the link has already been dropped in the chat also.
Okay.
Yes.
So at this time, if you'll either click the link or view the shared screen she's about to share. When she shares, you can look at the minutes from the 1019 meeting. At that time, if you have any changes or updates to it, we can make those updates. Any corrections, I should say. All right. Are there any corrections that need to be made to the minutes by the team? Anybody? At this time, if there are no further corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous minutes?
I motion to approve the previous minutes.
At this time, may I have a second?
Aye.
Yeah. Was that a second? Okay. Please say aye. All in favor?
Aye,
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. Okay, at this time, the motion we move with that motion to approve the previous meeting minutes from the 10/19 meeting. Thank you. At this time, we will now move on to our discussion items, which will be our 45-day continuous improvement plan. That will be carried out by our principal, Ms. Principal McCoo.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'm going to share my screen so we can proceed with our 45-day action plan updates. Okay, now we will have our 45-day check-in for C.W. Long Middle School. Our agenda will do a review of the continuous improvement plan and give updates as far as our 45-day check-in. We'll have a review of our strategic plan and priorities progress. And we'll also be looking at some rankings as far as our strategic priorities so we can begin preparing for budget development. Currently, we are at the before winter break on our timeline. So although we are in November, we're transitioning to our items prior to winter break. Now, the quarterly SIP check-in. As part of the continuous improvement process, all APS schools are completing a quarterly check-in for the continuous improvement plans. Here are some questions to consider as this information is reviewed. Based on your year-long SIP plan, what are the actions that the school has already completed? What data supports the completion of an action step and success criteria, both implementation and student achievement? Now, of course, this plan is in alignment with our goals that have been set for literacy, numeracy, and whole child development. Our literacy goal. The percentage of students in grades 6 through 8 scoring proficient or above in ELA as measured by the Georgia Milestones Assessment will increase by 3% from 17.3% to 20.3% by May 2025. As we discussed our last meeting, this is actually that 17.3%. We're at the highest we've been since 2018. So there is work being done. But in order for us to continue on a trajectory of proficiency, there are some actions that must be taken. We're currently taking those actions at the school level, and these actions will be continuous throughout the school year. Our first action step is to provide weekly PD on best practices in small group instruction and personalized learning strategies for a Tier 1 instruction in ELA. That right there, again, this is ongoing. Currently, we are doing that alongside monitoring the implementation of small group instruction. And one of the biggest things is providing feedback, coaching, and tiered support to teachers in Tier 1 instruction, personalized learning, and small group instruction implementation in the ELA classes. Now, unfortunately, we do not take our winter map until beginning the week of December 2nd. So that will be a major indicator to see if these action steps have currently worked. But based off of observation, feedback, and some common assessment data, we are seeing that our teachers and scholars are on the trajectory to show increased proficiency on the upcoming ELA map assessment. Now for our special ed population. As I stated on our last meeting, I'm proud to say that we saw an increase in special ed and mathematics as far as students scoring proficient or above. Although we saw an increase, of course, we want to see greater increases. So our action steps for our special ed population is to provide ongoing PD for special ed interrelated teachers on best practices and the co-teaching models. And we focused on alternative teaching, parallel teaching, and station teaching. Those are our focuses for the upcoming school year as designated by Atlanta Public Schools. And we're seeing that work being done by the teachers and also alongside the support of our inclusive practice specialists and our CELT here at the school. Also providing professional development for our ELL teachers on best practices and strategies to utilize with our ELL students. Again, we're harboring support from not only our specialists within the building, but also from district specialists in the ELL department. Next, for mathematics, the percentage of students in grades 6 through 8 scoring proficient or above in math as measured by the Georgia Milestones will increase from 10.8% to 13.8% by May 2025. We are having a big push in mathematics. In order for us to get to the level that we need to be as far as proficiency with our scholars, we have to develop our teachers. And one of our major focuses is, again, providing best practices for Tier 1 instruction, focusing on small group and personalized learning. Also monitoring the implementation of small group instruction in the math classrooms, and providing feedback, coaching, and tiered support to teachers in Tier 1 instruction, personalized learning, and small group instruction in math classes. Now, a major push that we are going have been focused on is the use of manipulatives in the classroom, because we've noticed that a lot of teachers and scholars, they have that procedural understanding of mathematics, but the conceptual understanding that's needed in order for our students to get to the level of proficiency, it is not yet there, or have our scholars and some teachers have attained that. So we are currently leveraging the skill sets of those teachers in the building who are and have been deemed proficient as far as using manipulatives and transferring that information to the scholars. So we are looking at going forward, providing some ongoing training in math manipulation so students and teachers can have a better view of the conceptual and procedural understandings. And again, it will push them towards that trajectory of proficiency based off the mathematics standards that we are now utilizing. For our special ed population, providing professional development for special ed interrelated teachers on best practices and co-teaching models, and also providing professional development for our ELL teachers on best practices and strategies. As stated before, we still have a big push with our subgroup populations, both special ed and ELL, but a major thing we're also focusing on as far as our special ed teachers is SDI. SDI is the utilization of tools to make sure you're providing that individualized support for the students as needed, because oftentimes teachers are trying to do a one-size-fits-all in the classroom for special ed students, where based off their exceptionalities, they may need more individualized resources and tools. So that is also a major lift alongside Ms. Henry, our inclusive practice specialist, is providing ongoing training and support on SDI with our special ed teachers alongside their co-teachers. Next, looking at the whole child. Our goal is to increase our ADA, or our average daily attendance rate, from 88.8 to at least 91.8% by the end of this school year. One of the major things we had to do is lift and leverage level 1 infractions in the classrooms, and just have a more systemic school-wide expectation as far as how level 1 infractions should be handled. Also providing monthly professional development on identified strategies and support to minimize level 1 infractions in the classroom. And a lot of that work is done by our WCI team as they identify those barriers that targeted students may have, and they're providing the resources to not only the scholars, but the parents to ensure those barriers have been removed. And one of the major things that we've done alongside our counseling department, and I just would like to send a huge shout out to that team, is providing monthly incentives to homeroom students and teachers with perfect attendance. And with that, we've seen an increase of not only our daily attendance, but also our period attendance. We're seeing that students are now more consistently going to all classes compared to maybe missing one class here or there. So incentivizing has truly been a way that we've seen an increase in our ADA thus far. Now, based off the information that has been provided with this check-in, our discussion protocol is as follows. What do we notice? What are our current wonderings? And what additional questions do we have? So at this time, I am going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to have those discussions based off of what do you notice, wonderings, and additional questions that you may have. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing. Are there any wonderings?
I guess my wonders would be, how are students, based on common assessment data, how are students responding to the small groups? Because I know as a school, that's been a strong push for us. what are like the how have they been responding to that?
There has been a great response, but I think we still have to build the capacity of some teachers to ensure
Mhm.
they have a clear understanding of small group instruction compared to differentiation. But right now, the students have been very responsive, even the engagement levels of the students in the classrooms. And I've had the opportunities, of course, to visit all classrooms. There we have our, I'm going to say, experts at it, but at the same time, we have those teachers that need their capacity built. But through the feedback and observation of even peer observations, we're seeing those barriers that may have been presented in some classrooms. By allowing the teachers to observe their colleagues, they're being able to utilize some strategies that they're seeing in the classrooms to leverage the students' responses to small group. So right now, I'm very eager for us to take the MAP assessment so we can see have those strategies truly worked thus far. But right now, just off of common assessment data, especially in an area that we really need to lift in mathematics, and just looking at some of those assessments, I'm proud to say even with some of the assessments that have been provided by the district where there may have been gaps, we have some students, especially at the 7th grade level, who scored perfect 100s. So that is a big difference. And it's just as far as like those skill gaps being closed within the classroom. So we are seeing some great performance of our scholars. But like I say, the map will truly give us a true depiction of the shifts and the actions we've taken if they're truly working.
And I'm curious to know, you mentioned earlier about in the special ed classes, the use of manipulatives.
Mhm.
Where are we? I mean, do we have everything we need in terms of, the appropriate manipulatives? And if we do, have we seen any, has there been any inroads in terms of, how students are responding to it? Are they, what is the level of engagement? Is that an area that we need to focus in on?
That is an area we need to focus in on. I'm going to say the teachers who are very familiar with using manipulative, their classes are engaged compared to those who are struggling. And so that's why we're leveraging the capacity of those teachers who are able to utilize those manipulatives, because we see a shift from that procedural to the conceptual. And with the new standards, you have to have that shift because it's not just going to be simple multiplication. It's going to be some type of conceptual understanding that has to be seen. So we have more than enough of the resources within the building. It's just more so leveraging the individuals to actually teach the students how to utilize that. So in January, because of course we're about to transition to break, but we've identified 3 of our teachers who are who've shown mastery as far as utilizing manipulatives, and they will be providing PD to teachers to ensure that they have a true understanding of how to manipulate the math and also what manipulatives to use with certain skills.
Awesome. Awesome.
Right.
I have a question. Do we, for the small groups, I know you're seeing change and positive reception with the youth, but do you all collect any qualitative data just to kind of get the students' opinions on how they like the small groups and how it's better supporting them outside of like seeing the change in the testing and things of that nature? Just
We
how they
have
like it
not,
better.
I'm sorry, from the lens of just speaking with the students, I think in the classroom, we can just see the different levels of engagement, but just sitting them down or even just providing them with a survey or something just to have the idea, no, we have not. But I think that will be something, especially as we transition into this winter map, that will be something we could really look at in January when we come back, when we complete our goal setting, to see how it has helped, and it could really assist us with that transition from our winter map to our spring map. So that's something we could add on to ensure we have that data from the kids.
Okay, and it could be something as simple as like a small focus group, kind of from each grade level to kind of get their feedback on that on a smaller scale. But okay, thank you.
And I'm going to reach out to some of our dynamic partners at Holistic Stress to ensure that we have that done.
I got your back.
Okay. Any other wonderings, questions, noticing?
Just to be brief, I do notice I've been in the classroom for a few days, and just working with students when they're in a more intimate group amongst themselves. I think they're more open to ask certain questions that they wouldn't ask if they were just in the general body. And then you can kind of dig a little deeper because certain students are now working on their own independently, and those students are now grouped together or working independently. You can kind of focus more, they can get more of your attention, and you can kind of work through a lot of misconceptions. I've seen that firsthand. So small groups, excuse me, really does work. It's a good research-based strategy to use to really support our students.
And I'm glad you said that, Mr. Murphy, because the biggest thing is open to having that level of vulnerability with the students.
Mhm.
I think when we are able to have those conversations with them, it allows them to see that we're not only working towards a goal as far as just overall school, we're working towards their own personal goals. So I think that, as you stated, that more intimate, small group, when you have 2 or 3 students instead of talking to a whole class, and you're really focusing on those foundational skills that's needed for them to allow them to master the standard. I'm seeing that in a lot of classrooms, but at the same time, I'm seeing a lot of shift in behaviors when teachers are able to be more intimate as far as instruction with the students and able to sit down and have that intimate conversation, especially in ELA, about what shifts need to be made in their writings in order to make it more so towards the exemplar. So just the observations that are being done, and just even I'm just going to say the climate of the classrooms now. There is a shift being seen, and we do see students working more towards goals and not just coming to school just to say they are coming to school.
Yep.
Are there any other? Okay, I'm going to reshare my screen at this time. Are you all able to see the screen?
Yep.
Okay.
So at this time, I think we in fact have had a discussion on the 45-day plan as well as the strategic plan. We can move forward to informational items. I do believe that this plan was part of the principal's report, so therefore we'll move to a cluster advisory team report. Are there any, is our cluster advisory rep here, if they can share anything about the cluster? I know that we're having a cluster meeting tonight, but is there anything additional that you would like to share from your report, if you have a report?
And if not, I'll just share from the last cluster advisory meeting. One of the biggest things we looked at was the budget for the upcoming year. Of course, with decreases in a lot of the schools' populations, we're just foreseeing and looking at different options as far as the needs of the school. So when we convene in our next meeting, that will be something that we will be looking at, because as we transfer into budget season, we will have to look at the needs of the school and the different options as far as positions and what are our highest rankings needs based off of our strategic plan. We have an ongoing review of our strategic plan, but I'm just going to have to say that although decreases are coming our way, possibly, we are beginning to see a shift in our population. And when I say a shift, as far as the demographics that we're serving, but at the same time, we're starting to, whereas our numbers are projected to decrease, we're starting to see an influx of students coming in. So although there are things such as projections, we're going to really hope for the best and hope that we are the status quo remains as far as our numbers, so we would not have to really focus on adjustments, especially when it comes to personnel. So that will be a major discussion as the cluster advisory team. That was a major focus on last week, but also athletics and just making sure opportunities are there for students in athletics. And they're also looking at opportunities for elementary students with athletics. So just sit tight especially as I stated with the budget piece, because we really will be having some conversations. They may not be difficult, especially if we remain as we are with our population. But those talks will be coming forward after we come back from the break. Mr. Murphy, I think you're on mute.
At this time, that ends our informational items. Thank you, Principal McCoo. We'll move on to any announcements and then public comments.
Okay, I'm proud to say that on today, our partner, Hartsfield International Airport, if you don't know, Hartsfield International Airport, they're an official partner of Long Middle School. We had the opportunity today to have several employees from the airport come out and speak with our scholars and just provide them with information on aviation and just to give them opportunities and to expose them to different career paths that they may choose. I'm proud to say that this ongoing partnership, we will have different opportunities for our scholars to not only visit the airport, but be a part of different clubs and organizations that we will create alongside our counseling department and with our STEM department to ensure scholars are exposed to aviation careers, but at the same time, they're able to experience them firsthand by having tours at the airport and being involved in other things. So I look forward to the additional things that will come, but we had a great session today, and several of our scholars were able to hear from those individuals from the airport.
Any other announcements from the floor? Group?
Yes, I wanted to talk a little bit about what Perspectives on Social Justice will be doing if I can, if this is the appropriate time to do so.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, and do I have capability to share my screen?
I will make sure I give them to you.
Okay. Let me make sure I'm in the right spot here. Yep. Wait. Okay, let me see if I can share.
No, I'm making you the co-host now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So as many of you know, we've been, let's see, as many of you know, we have been working diligently to, with our problem-based learning engagement. And it's very important to me that our engagement supports that 45-day plan for that Principal McCall has presented to us. And so with that, we started out at the beginning of the year. Each grade level established an approach to problem-based learning that we would engage. And so things are going relatively well based on the engagements that I've had with teachers as well as Mr. Murphy. So now we're at that space where I just kind of want to give an update as to what's kind of give a progress report in terms of our problem-based learning, because I think our engagement in that particular teaching modality will help support and advance the 45-day plan that Principal McCall, at least I hope it does. That's the goal, because we want to do more than just come and say, we're going to build a garden, we're going to harvest it, and we're going to take the stuff home. No, we want to actually have some impact on the test scores, on the overall performance. We want the kids to be engaged. So with that, I will give my Go Team report, and I hope I have done this correctly. Okay, so last time I talked about we have a new resource partner. So we brought on 2 new resource partners. Just wanted to announce that. Last time I talked about we got Soil 3. Soil 3 is a humus compost company. They are the leaders when it comes to providing soil compost. So when we get ready to grow our food, we will be growing in the best soil to give ourselves the best opportunity to produce a good solid harvest. So that's what Soil 3 is going to do for us. We also have Mr. Robert Chappelle, Moby's Farm. Mr. Chappelle is a landscape artist with more than 30 years of experience in architectural design. So the goal, if you've noticed any changes in that area close to the amphitheater, we hope to make that area into a food producing, growing area. That's not just growing food, but we hope to make it a kind of outdoor classroom that will be that will be beneficial to our kids. And anytime we want to advance the quest and problem-based learning, that we could utilize that space, and really not just for problem-based learning, but for any type of outdoor engagement. I've been working very closely with Mr. Parsons, who's the chief of facilities. I think that's his position for Atlanta Public Schools, to get that. And there have been some challenges with that effort, but we're working. We had hoped that by now that area would be ready for us to actually start laying the groundwork for our garden. But there have been some challenges with the facilities persons from downtown. So we are working diligently to get that project off the ground, and hopefully they'll be back on next week to complete that task. We also want to, there are also some concerns about our amphitheater. And I don't know if anyone has had an opportunity to take a look at the amphitheater since it has rained, but the drainage issue, there's a serious drainage issue where the water that drains off of the roof of the cafeteria, the current drainage system does not have the capacity to drain the water effectively. And so as a result of that, the consequence of that rather is that there is it tends to be like a little swimming pool down where the amphitheater is. So we're working hard to try to resolve that, with the chief of facilities downtown, because that is, we want to have the best grounds anywhere. When you come to Crawford Long, we want the grounds to look as good as if we were across town at Sarah Smith or somewhere like Sutton Middle. We want it to look the same way. We want to get the same service. And so I'm pledged to, as a member of this Go team, I'm pledged to be serious about doing that. Okay, the other resource partner that I have brought on board is Mr. Rex Smith. Mr. Smith is a web designer. He specializes in UX and UI design. What that means is every time you go to a website to go buy something, you go to Old Navy, you get ready to buy some jeans. The UX UI design is really focused on how you will engage on that website. So we know that Atlanta Public Schools has a web design. They have a platform, a current platform. So what Mr. Smith is going to come in and do is he is going to actually work with the current web platform that we have, so that we can, once we grow our food, we can actually create some proceeds. We can sell some of the things for on the website and as a fundraiser for Crawford Long. And I just wanted to very quickly kind of give an example, show an example of what I'm talking about. Can everybody still see my screen? Okay, so this is an example. Browntown Farms is an actual farm up in Virginia. They are a very I'm not gonna say they're a small farm. They have about 15, 20 acres, I think. But their thing is not necessarily selling produce. They are producers of jellies and jams. But when they grow things, some of the things that they do sell, they may sell. They have a fall box that's $25. A head of cabbage. They know they're gonna harvest some collard greens. So these are things that we know that we're going to grow in our garden. So especially with the collard greens, as we harvest those, right? We'll harvest those and we'll go on our website. Hopefully people can go to the website, they'll see the collard greens and say, oh, I want 2 bunches of collard greens. And then, here we are. So these are the types of things that we want to teach the kids about using technology in today's world. So that's part of what we're doing in the problem-based learning. Okay, so getting back to my report, I just wanted to, kind of give that as an example. I just want to, before I end, I want to end by showing you a timeline of what we're going to be doing. The rest of this is about this page is really about a kind of a continuation of what I talked about last year, that we're actually going into the classrooms and we're doing different types of problem-based learning engagements. For example, we're going into the art department. They're going to develop raised bed decorations and signage for each raised bed. We've got the music department under the leadership of Mr. Golden. We're going to put together a 20-minute play. So we have different types of engagements, and a lot of those engagements, for example, I'll be working closely with Mr. Murphy at the beginning of the year, where we're actually going into the ELA classes to model that small group engagement, the tier 1 and small group engagement, and co-teaching models, things of that nature. So we're in the process. We've actually located a lot of lessons and a lot of lesson plans that we're going to use to promote those types of engagements. Okay, so here's what we're talking about for garden development. So we'll be doing in class as well as the All-Stars in the All-Stars program. So beginning January 15th, we hope to have a big dynamic entry event. And for those of you who are familiar with problem-based learning, the very first phase of problem-based learning is this dynamic entry event. We hope to take the different grade levels to the Browns Mill Food Forest so that that can be an entry event to kind of set the tone for this for the problem-based learning, right? And then we also are going to develop that green food space. What I mean by that, I mentioned before at last time that we're going to do a time-lapse video to actually show the development of that garden area. So we're going to start that on January 15th. Then beginning the 13th and 14th is when, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be into some classrooms. Not every classroom, because we don't want to impose. We just don't want to necessarily impose our approach to PBL engagement on everyone, but several teachers have invited us into their classrooms to do those PBL engagements. And again, each time we do it, just in support of the 45-day plan, we're going to be modeling small group activity. We're going to be, demonstrating to teachers and it's going to be very hands-on and experiential, because they'll actually be doing it as well, that small group engagement, and really understanding and getting the best experience when it comes to co-teaching models. And we know many of our staff are doing that already, but we want to just kind of introduce a new, not necessarily a new way, but a different way. That they can, if it works for them, they can engage. They can use some of the strategies and modalities. Also, January 13th and 14th. January 13th is a big day, not just for Deltas, but it will be a big day. We know that. I think that is the day of. Is that the inauguration? I think it is. It's either that day or the following Monday, but I believe it is. So we're going to also in the All-Star program, we'll be doing the garden. We'll be doing art in the garden. We'll be working with Mr. Golden so that he can get the garden play going. And when we do those PBL engagements, we have those. We do have some lesson plans. We're going to adapt those lesson plans. We'll be showing teachers how to adapt those lesson plans to make them work for the standards that they're focusing in on that week. Okay, so we've already tried it. We've already talked about it with a few teachers, and we found that to be very effective. They'll show them how you can take any lesson plan and adapt it to the content standards that you're supposed to be focusing in on a given week, right? And we'll also be doing the economics and the business planning part. Then later on, as we go into February, that grade level, I believe it's the 8th graders, we'll be talking more to them about the marketing and development piece. So that's what we have on plan for the next 45 days. And when we come back, I think our next Go Team meeting, is it in January, I think?
It'd be, yes.
Okay. By that time, we'll be more succinct in what's going to happen in February and March. But I did want to give everybody an update on where we are with the problem. Am I saying it right, Mr.
PBL.
Murphy?
Yes, the PBL in the gardening.
Is
Yeah,
it
and thank you.
problem-based or project-based?
Project-based.
Yes, they use those terms interchangeably throughout the industry. So yes.
Thank you
Yes.
very much, Dr. White. And just
Thank
to
you.
add to that briefly, Miss one of the teachers on 8th grade, they actually had a marketing session today using
Okay.
the tech specialist to come in, and students were using Adobe Spark to start creating their marketing designs. And so we were just looking at the fact that, we like to measure mastery with, data, but also too, there's some qualitative data that we can look at and see how students are actually performing, because, there are different ways to measure a student's greatness or talents, and just to look at if they were in the zoned in. And this is relevant stuff because all the STEM careers that are going to be that are available now, that these students can graduate and start actually being a part of the workforce. At this time, we are going to move on to, we've got announcements. Are there any public comments that need to be had?
Actually, Mr. Murphy, could I make a quick announcement?
Okay.
I just wanted to mention that the 8th grade senior pictures and the sports teams and organizations photos will take place on December 11th for our parents. And most parents, and I'm sorry about the music behind me, if you can hear that. Most parents, some parents already know that the nurses are asked to wear white collar shirts, bow ties, and black jackets. And the young ladies are asked to wear a sports bra underneath their uniform, so they'll be wearing a black drape for those pictures. So again, it's December 11th. Also we have campaigning for SBA. So the kids will be voting tomorrow for their senior government representatives. Ms. Dionisa leading the charge on that. So that's another development that it would be great to talk about and get our students their voice, since we have to ask them about the uniform policy. So we're moving forward with getting that underway. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments or announcements? Great. And I think so we can move on now to the latter of our agenda, which would be the adjournment of our meeting. We've reached the end of this agenda. If is there any additional business at this time? If not, then may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
May I have a second?
I second that we adjourn the meeting at 6:24.
Oh, okay. Please raise your hand in favor of adjournment, or say aye. If any not in favor, please say nay. Any abstentions? This meeting is adjourned at 6:25 p.m. on 11/21/2024. Thank you and have a great evening.
Everyone have a great evening. Happy
All right.
Thanksgiving. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.